I used to think getting fired from a bar on a Friday night was the peak of humiliation. Then my parents turned family dinner into a courtroom drama and decided a mail-order DNA kit had more authority over my existence than 18 years of scraped knees, bad report cards, and me fixing their Wi-Fi every other week. It started simple enough. My dad sent a "We need to talk" text, which in parent language usually means someone bought a treadmill they'll never use or my mother discovered a new way to overseason chicken. I showed up expecting awkward silence and free food. Instead, they were sitting in formal clothes like I was about to be sentenced. My mother actually had tissues arranged in a decorative pile. That was my first warning. Then my father announced, with all the seriousness of a man declaring war on a country, that they had received genetic confirmation. I was not their biological son. He even held up a printed DNA report like it was a sacred scroll. I blinked. Twice. "So, you did a quiz online and disowned me? That's the direction we're going?" My sister immediately started calculating inheritance percentages on her phone. My brother looked relieved, like someone had removed a stain from the family brand. Nobody asked questions. Nobody hesitated. Just pure suburban efficiency. My mother sniffled and said, "We still love you, just from a legal distance." That's when they handed me a suitcase. Not packed, just handed. Like I was a return item without a receipt. By the time I reached the street, I'd been downgraded from son to possible manufacturing error. At the bar that night, I was polishing glasses harder than necessary, explaining my tragic backstory to absolutely no one in particular when she walked in. She didn't look like anyone from around here. Too calm. Too observant. Like she was studying the room instead of drinking in it. She ordered water. Just water. Nobody orders water unless they're hiding something or judging everyone. "I'm Lyra," she said, as if introductions were optional in her life. "I study human romantic expression through written media." I nodded slowly. "Cool. I study alcohol as a coping mechanism. We all have hobbies." She tilted her head. "Do you often disown each other based on genetic documentation?" I froze mid-wipe. "Yeah, about that." Before I could continue my self-pity monologue, my phone buzzed. "Important notice. Your DNA sample may have been processed with canine breeding data." I stared at it. Then at her. And for the first time that night, I wasn't sure which part of my life was the joke. I didn't go back to the house because I missed them. I went back because I couldn't accept that a $29 DNA test and a dramatic dinner had more authority over my entire existence than basic logic. Also, I still had a spare key hidden under the fake rock near the garden gnome my mother insisted was tasteful. What I didn't expect was that the house would feel different. Same polished suburban mansion. Same aggressively trimmed hedges. Same security camera that always made me feel like I was being judged by a Roomba with authority issues. But the moment I slipped through the old maintenance hatch I built as a kid, originally intended for sneaking snacks and avoiding piano lessons, I noticed something was off. The walls weren't just walls anymore. They were storage. And not normal storage. My mother-level storage. Stacks of books filled one compartment. At first I thought it was just her usual romance collection, the kind she pretended was literature for emotional enrichment. Then I saw the titles. Immortal Desires of the Tax Collector Vampire. Bite Me, but Make It Economically Sustainable. And worse, they were all bestsellers. I laughed out loud in disbelief, then immediately stopped when I realized there were printing receipts tucked between the walls. Large ones. International ones. Numbers that made my bartender's salary look like pocket lint. My mother, apparently, wasn't just reading this nonsense. She was writing it. And she was rich from it. Then I heard footsteps above me. That's when I met Lyra again. Except now she wasn't just Lyra, the strange water-drinking customer from the bar. She looked like she already belonged in the house, scanning the walls like she was reading invisible subtitles only she could see. "You returned to the structure," she said calmly. "Yeah," I whispered. I was hoping for emotional closure. Found capitalism instead. She didn't laugh. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled out something that looked like a thin, floating panel of light. I must inform you, she said. Your mother's writing is being actively distributed across 7 inhabited star systems. I nearly dropped the book I was holding. My mom writes vampire fanfiction for aliens? Lyra nodded like this was normal. Human romantic fiction is classified as a high-value emotional destabilization medium. Your mother is considered influential. That's horrifying, I said. It is also, she paused, deeply popular. We stood there in silence, surrounded by walls full of my mother's accidental empire. Somewhere upstairs, my father was probably yelling at a thermostat. Lyra leaned closer, inspecting one of the manuscripts. This section, she said, describes a vampire falling in love while filing quarterly taxes. It is inefficiently written. That's her style, I muttered. Emotional damage with footnotes. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me. You are related to this author? Apparently not, I said. According to DNA, I'm closer to a golden retriever. For the first time, she smiled. A clerical error of that magnitude is statistically impressive. And somehow, that was the moment everything got worse. Because hidden behind the manuscripts, I found a financial ledger with my name on it. And according to it, I was still listed as the legal emergency beneficiary of the entire house. By the time I understood what was happening, it was already too late for anyone in my family to pretend they were in control of anything. The DNA company finally issued an official correction. Apparently, my entire identity crisis had been caused by a data merge incident involving a golden retriever breeding database. Which, honestly, felt like the most accurate explanation for my family dynamics I'd ever heard. But the correction didn't matter anymore. Because while my parents were busy drafting apology speeches that sounded suspiciously like damage control, the rest of the world had already noticed something much more interesting. Aliens. Or more specifically, Lyra's people. They didn't arrive with explosions or dramatic invasions. No lasers. No panic. Just quiet, clinical observation, like they were checking out a new restaurant that might have decent emotional trauma on the menu. And at the center of it all, my mother's ridiculous vampire novels. Apparently, her work had been translated across multiple species using some kind of interstellar literary algorithm. Humans thought it was cringe romance fiction. Aliens thought it was raw emotional chaos expressed through primitive bonding rituals. I still wasn't sure which description insulted us more. My father tried to handle the situation like a businessman. He stood in the living room, suit on, sweating through it, offering brand partnerships to beings who didn't even have visible mouths. My brother tried to negotiate inheritance rights with a floating translator orb. My sister live-streamed herself crying while claiming she had foreseen the alien arrival in a dream, which immediately got her more followers than she'd ever had in her life. Meanwhile, I was standing in the hallway with Lyra, watching my entire family collapse under the weight of attention they never earned. You humans are very loud when stressed, she observed. We call it coping, I said. Sometimes we also buy expensive furniture we don't need. She tilted her head. And yet you survive. That hit harder than I expected. Because she wasn't mocking it. She was studying it like it was impressive. Downstairs, my mother was now being interviewed by what looked like a hovering geometric shape about her creative inspiration. She was drunk on attention, gesturing wildly while explaining that all her vampire characters were emotionally misunderstood like her son used to be. I sighed. I think I've been replaced by my own mother's fanfiction marketing strategy. Lyra actually considered this seriously. That is not replacement. That is cultural evolution. Before I could respond, the house lights flickered. Every smart device I had ever installed during my teenage. I will hack the family system for snacks. Phase suddenly activated. And then the speakers spoke. In my voice. Welcome home, the system said cheerfully. Ownership verification complete. The entire family froze. I didn't remember writing that command. But I did remember building the system. And I had definitely forgotten one small detail. I had never removed my admin access. The moment the house accepted me as the owner, everything in it changed tone, like a polite system suddenly realizing it had been insulting the wrong person for years. Lights shifted from warm, family comfort, to sharp, corporate judgment. Doors stopped opening smoothly and started clicking like they were reconsidering their life choices. Even the thermostat dropped a degree, just to establish dominance. My father was the first to panic. "Son," he started, then stopped, because the house speakers immediately interrupted him. "Incorrect identification," the system said in my voice. "Please refer to resident status, unverified background noise." My brother tried to laugh it off, but the living room portraits of our family suddenly updated in real time, adding captions beneath each face. His read: Future Regret Investment Specialist. My sister's read: Live Streaming Emotional Instability Expert. She screamed. My mother, however, did something worse. She looked impressed. "Oh," she said slowly. "The house has personality now. This is excellent material." Even at the edge of chaos, she was still thinking in book deals. Lyra stepped closer to me, watching everything unfold like it was a rare documentary. "Your species builds emotional architecture into physical space," she said, "then argues inside it." "Yeah," I replied. "We call it real estate." The smart system locked the wine cellar mid-argument when my parents tried to retreat there. The kitchen faucet turned on every time someone lied. The security cameras replayed old family conversations at increasing volume, which was cruel, even by my standards. My father finally broke. "We made a mistake," he said quickly. "We can fix this. We can be a family again." The house paused. So did I. For a second, I actually considered it. Old habits die hard, especially the ones that involve wanting people who already decided you were disposable. But then I remembered the suitcase. The DNA test. The way they didn't hesitate for even a second. "No," I said simply. The house systems confirmed it immediately. "Denial accepted," it announced. All doors to the mansion unlocked outward. Not inward. Outward. A very polite eviction. My siblings grabbed what they could. My father kept arguing with the speaker. My mother paused only long enough to steal 3 hardcover copies of her own vampire novels before being gently guided toward the exit by automated lighting cues. When they were finally outside, the gates closed without drama. No explosions. No revenge speech. Just finality. Silence settled into the house after that, strangely peaceful. Lyra looked at me. "What will you do now?" I glanced around the place I grew up in, now officially under my control. "I think," I said slowly, "I'm going to turn this into something better than a family home." She raised an eyebrow. "A bar," I added. "A publishing studio. Maybe a place where aliens and humans can argue about terrible romance novels in peace." For the first time, she smiled fully. "That is a highly inefficient use of space," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "We're good at that." She stepped closer, her voice softer now. "Then I will remain for research purposes." "Sure," I said. "Research." But neither of us moved away. And somewhere deep in the walls, the house system quietly updated its final status. Primary resident confirmed. Emotional stability, still questionable. Outcome human.